Welcome back, guys. In today's video, we're going to be talking about basic steel production and efficiency. We're going to go through kind of the whole start to finish process of building this factory and everything that goes into it, how I like to set up my factories, and the little tips and tricks that you can do to make your factory better. I don't expect everybody to kind of agree with the style, but this is what I've been doing lately, and I've been really liking it, and it creates pretty clean factories that are nice and simple. So there's going to be a lot of tips and tricks on both aesthetic stuff and kind of how you can go about organizing belts and everything, especially with these tricky two-input machines that you deal with at the beginning of the game. All that being said, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow our series. We post every Thursday, and if we hit our like goal of 15 likes by Friday night, I will be posting a bonus video Saturday morning. All that being said, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to start off here with a nice flat foundation here. I think it's about roughly 10 by 10. I'm going to be using concrete for the majority of this because I think it looks a lot cleaner, and I've unlocked it and I want to use it. So once you have a big platform laid out like this, we're going to add a 3-high wall. Normally you want to do about 4 or 5 depending on what you're building. If you're using like manufacturers, you need at least 5 high. But this is going to act as a kind of splitting manifold room down here. We're going to organize all the belts and everything really nice and pretty. So it's not really going to be something that's looked at, and it all needs to be covered up. And usually 3 high, I've kind of determined for myself, is my preference on what I like to do. So we're going to take this little circle design like this, and then you're going to take these reinforced windows, and you need silica, but you're going to place these right here, and we're going to make all this concrete, make it look nice and pretty. So let me bust that out real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, so I got these placed in here, and this is how it should look. I put this wall in here because I know for a fact I don't want to go any further this way. Anything that I do over here would probably be up at a higher level. I don't really see a point. The only thing that's back here is like a sulfur node over there. So there's really not a point in going this way. Everything I need is over here. So I have these 2 walls placed down, and we're going to keep adding on to stuff. I'm going to do a little 1 meter foundation at the top right here and just cover this whole thing. So let me do that real fast. So now that we have this all flattened out, this is our meter 1 foundation. So you can use 2 meters or 4 meters, but I just prefer the 1 meter because it gives us the most amount of space underneath. So like if we go down here, with our 3 wall high and everything that we have down here, we have a ton of room to do all the splitters, anything that we need to do. This should be plenty of space to belt up to a manufacturer if you really wanted to, depending on how compact you can get stuff. So this is like what I have determined to be the perfect height. You can always make do with less, but I feel like once you get shorter, it just gets a little bit harder. And you'll kind of see what our plan is for down here once we get into this a little more. As for our steel production that we have going on, we have a pure node up here, and then we have 2 or 3 iron nodes down here that's going to work out. We're pretty much going to have to belt this all the way around and back into this to kind of split everything and get it to where it needs to go. The idea being that we're going to finish off some of this steel stuff and then create the parts that we need to get the advanced steel production. And then for there, we can unlock the Mark II miners and go up to about 270 with the Mark III belts. So 270 should come out to, I believe, 6 foundries, if I have that number correct. I'm just kind of doing that like on the fly. I'm not sure exactly. But it should be 6 foundries across this, which should create plenty of steel production for us. It's just a matter of kind of hooking things up. And then right now, we're just going to be building a small setup to get by. So we're going to get started on that. I'm going to show you what everything looks like. If you want to add some really easy kind of flair to your factory, if you're already going with this, if you delete this level of foundations and then raise up a different set of foundations, a 1 meter right above it, it organizes everything a lot better down there. And you just set this up, or whatever you're doing, foundries, smelters, constructors, slightly elevated, and you want to leave enough space on both sides for conveyor floor holes. So you get these in the Awesome Shop. If you haven't used them, they're phenomenal. And you just want to line them up. If you put them right here, they won't fit. You just back it up 1 click on both of the exits, and then all this will be elevated and organized. And then you can just control click this stuff down to match up with everything, and then replace all of this. You could possibly blueprint this if you wanted to take the time, but I don't have blueprints unlocked, so right now we're going to make do. And then all we're going to do once we add on more is continue to take this out and go down this way until we get to our 6 foundries. Then usually what will happen by the ends of it, you got to kind of pay attention to what it looks like. Like in terms of this, I probably could have got away with just using a half foundation. So if I like take this out, and I don't even know if I have them. Yeah, I do. So then I can place this here, and that way I get a nice similar edge to what I have going on over here, as opposed to having the full amount over there. So you just kind of have the pieces to make do with what you're trying to do. Normally I like to put asphalt here, but I don't have the asphalt unlocked, so we're kind of just dealing with it. And then to make it look a little bit prettier, and we'll kind of show you the final product here a little later, you can take basic walls to match your factory, and you set them down. If you have the half meter, you need to offset it like I just did there to make it work. And now you get like a nice orange strip around it, and you can do all the wiring and everything that you need to just up on this platform and kind of elevate it. And if you're feeling really cool, I'm a big fan of railings. I don't know about you guys, but you can start adding stuff like this around it. And now you have your machines as kind of like a staple point of the factory, as opposed to just being on the ground. So there's some ideas for you. I'm going to finish doing what I need to do, and I'll show what that looks like here in a second. And see, I'm already making mistakes. So I put these too far back. When you're placing these, you want to make sure that you're snapping the lifts into the actual holes. So you'll take your conveyor lift, and if you like look past it, you can see that I'm actually placing it below the floor using clipping, which will kind of mess with it down there. You don't want to do that. So if you look right at it, it should turn blue, and then you can actually place it against that. You don't have to go underneath and replace it down there to get it in the actual orientation you want. But that's how you do that. Make sure you're not making that mistake. Okay, now we're underneath, and since we're doing the foundries, we have the 2 inlets and the 1 output. So it's going to be really easy to kind of figure out what we need to do. We're going to use Mark 1 lifts for all of these just because of how it's going to work out. And all we're going to do is grab the inside ones, so this one and this one. We'll put this down at 1 level, and then you're going to take this and put this down just 2 above this. So if you're all the way to the floor, it's 1, 2, and you can do the exact same thing with assemblers, and it will look a little bit weird, but as long as you organize it right, it should be just fine. So this is literally just a 2 split right on top of each other, and we're going to do this really easy. As for the exit side, so you just need to place them inwards. You never really want to try to go outwards, because you can do a little thing where you box it in with glass and make it look like its own thing, as opposed to having it kind of all spread out. So your best bet with all the space you have is just maximize this. So we take our Mark 1, so we move them inward, just like that. And then you want to take a belt that can hold the output. So this will be 90 in total. So if we take our Mark 2 line, and you want to make a right angle and just kind of drag it all the way down, just like that, so you can see where it's at. And then if you take a merger, this is really similar to what I did in my fuel video, the fuel generator stuff, the diluted packaged fuel. And if you're having trouble lining this merger up, if you hold control, you'll kind of see it will snap a little bit. So it's the same thing as snapping to the side of a building. As long as you have a crossing point here, it will snap to it. It's not crazy finicky, but as long as you're kind of moving into it, it'll put it right where it needs to be. And then just because this is flush right here, you still have to actually add this belt. So don't forget about that, because you will run into a lot of problems if you forget about that. So then now all we need to do is our splitters over here. And all we're going to do is place a splitter. And it's not going to tell you, so you kind of have to use the H to lock the hologram and come around and see. But you want to place it as flush as you can without actually being inside of it. Like, this would be wrong. This is correct. You want a little bit of a gap here. And it's the same thing. You're going to have to put the belt there, but it's not a big deal. And then for this one, you just line it up next to it, and then stack it up twice, and then get rid of the bottom one. And now all you need to do is hook this up. Then this goes to here, and this goes to this right here. And then all you have to do from here is pretty much add in your coal and add in your iron. So we're going to have to belt all that stuff over there, and then we have our splitter set up, and this will be repeatable. So if you add down to the 6, you're just doing a 6 split, and you're just offsetting the level of it. And then we have our merger line here that's going to take everything off to the end, and this will go off to wherever we're going next with our constructors. So we're going to set up that, make sure we have our coal and iron over here, and then we'll continue with the video. Alright, so normally what you would want to use is the conveyor walls, but I don't have those right now, so unfortunately I can't do what I want to do. So there could be a little bit of clipping, but it's really not all that bad, and if I would have showed you, you probably wouldn't have realized anyway. So yeah, this just runs over here, which is lifted up to our coal, and then down below, we did another lift here. We replaced these with the foundation ones. We have our 2 miners over here bringing this in. So at this point, we can start this up, and we could probably start to get coal, we could probably start to get steel, but we don't really want to do that. We're going to try to complete the whole thing before we actually put any power to this, and hopefully, as long as I set everything right, it should all work first try. part of the reason they're doing that is, one, so if I do make a mistake and I wind up doing something really bad, it doesn't just all kind of back up, and I can kind of watch the entire system start from start to finish. And plus, it's like a little bit of a challenge, you know, like, can I set this whole thing up without knowing if it's going to work, and then turn the switch on and hopefully all of it works, which is kind of a really dumb way to look at things, but that's how I like to play. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to keep moving along with this, and I'll show you what we got to do next. So I wanted to plan out this factory a little bit better, and part of that was understanding the full capacity of it. So I went ahead and placed the rest of these and kind of did a little design around to make sure it's nice and pretty. I haven't actually hooked up any of the lines yet, so there is nothing here for that. But I was trying to lay out the constructors, and I need to know how far over to kind of do this. So this should be the 6 that I need, and then in total I'm going to need 6 of these constructors. So these 3 over here are going to be the steel beams. That will be 180 of this steel coming out, and then these will be the steel pipes, which is going to be the other 90 coming out of here, which comes out to a total of 270, which is a Mark III belt. So it's going to involve getting enough to unlock the advanced steel production to get the Mark IIs, and then overclocking whatever I need to. So these will have to go to 135 or however I want to do that, and this will have to go to 270. So that's the plan. We still have to hook everything up and make sure that we actually can produce steel. So we're going to get finished on doing that, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Alright, so we got all this set up down here. We put in the 3 conveyor lifts for all this stuff just to make it easier on it, because we have to understand the split. We're not going to actually power them on, and that's what's going to stop us from kind of moving forward with this. But this is a super easy split. So you just have a 3 split. Cannot get much easier than this. I guess a 2 split would be a little bit easier, but just make sure you remember that you have to put these little belts in between this. If you're having trouble and you're not getting the belt in the right orientation, like if you haven't placed these at the top and you're trying to drag down, you'll get the default one, which is trying to push it in the direction. So this is a green arrow. We don't want that. If you press the R key, you would get the reversed version. So if you have that wrong, just make sure you switch that around. And then all you need to do is hook it up to where it needs to go. So you put this little belt right here. I can't do it because I'm having trouble. Okay. Well, let me fix this real quick, and then I'll keep moving on. Hold on. Okay, so I fixed this. This is all set up right now. The only thing that matters, which is going to be a little bit difficult and kind of like the new concept for doing steel, is you're going to have to load balance this. So the reason why they give you 45s is they want to push you into having to do this, and I had a whole video where I bitched about it, but it's not the point. So what we're going to do is this needs 1/3 of what we have, and this needs 2/3. So we're going to merge this down to the end, and we're going to put a load balance section that will have, it's going to look like one splitter here, and then just one merger. And the way it's going to work is you'll have 2 lines that go into this, and you'll have your individual line that will go right here. So then you have, this is a 3 split. This is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 merged together is 2/3. And then this line will come over to here with our steel beams, because that uses priority. So this will do our steel beams, our 2 line, and then this single line will go over here. So we're going to set this up at the end of this over on this side, and then we're going to run all of our belts where we need to run them to kind of get them over to our constructors. So I'm going to set all that up and kind of box this in and do a little bit more work, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I put in that little load balancer over here, and I made it a little bit more compact by kind of switching this conveyor around. I wanted to go this way, but obviously I ran out of space, and I want to add more to this and make this uneven. So I just turned it a little bit, and now we have both these coming out. You want to take these up to the ceiling. If you can figure out a way to spend the extra 10 minutes to get this up into the air, that's probably a better way to do it. But just to make it easier on me and easier for you guys to actually see what it is, I put it on the ground. Then it just goes up to the top of this, and you want to use these little ceiling mount things to get nice right angles. You can kind of use this to carry all the way down. Then once you get to what you need to do, you just make another right angle. With the way these are set up, it's probably not going to fit very well in these, but you have all the space to work with. So just knock this down 2 notches, and then it should line up pretty good. And you still should have enough space to run the merger lines across this and kind of have everything put up where it needs to be. So that's how it's going to look. I'm going to belt this over here, fix all this, put the mergers lines for this so we have storage, and then we should be at a point where we just have to wire it and start it up, and everything should work. So I'm going to keep moving forward, and I'll be right back. Alright, so we wired everything. We're going to tie this into this line down here with our kind of concrete stuff we have going on, and then hopefully we should be able to see all this running. All right, so we've hooked this up, and we're gonna let this run for a second. We're still waiting on the iron ore to get up here. That's gonna take a minute because it has to come from all the way down there. But this belt should be filling up, and it should be starting up any minute now. In the meantime here, while I'm waiting for all this to get worked out, I'm going to be trying to figure out some of these walls and getting this a little bit more decorated. So that's what I'm gonna work on, and then I'm gonna come back in here about 10-20 minutes and actually see what we got going on. Hopefully nothing's broken. So yeah, I might have gotten a little bit carried away because I did a lot of work, like a lot of work. So I figured out exactly what I'm going for in here. I've got the nice roof for the top. These are going to be the full frame windows. I'm going to lock in a second once I get the steel stuff going. And I've got doors to the outside. I forgot to talk about it earlier, but if you offset this a little bit, you can kind of use this area down here as a catwalk as opposed to having just a nice block. So it kind of looks like a foundation, and all the stuff, all the belting and everything is hidden below in the foundation. So that's just another little tip for you guys. I'm going to fill in all these windows with the full frames. And in the center here, we got some nice support beams. So we've got a really kind of open concept with lots of light coming in. And I think it turned out really, really good. There's probably some more like little stuff I'm going to do here and there once I get everything kind of finished. But right now, this is going really good. And we do have almost a stack full of each of these. So we're going to take this stuff off to the hub real quick and try to unlock the advanced steel production and see how much more we need to do. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. All right, so our next step is to fill in this window, but we also need to change all these to the Mark II miners, place the splitters down there to finish off the foundries, hook everything up, and then it should be done. So we've done a lot of this kind of belting and everything that we need to do down here. All we really had to do was bring these down and then add two more splitters right here. So you now have a 3 split over here, and then a 3 split over here once we hook it up. And then all we need to do is add one extra section for the split down to these for the 50% split, and then everything will be correct. So we're going to actually shut off the power real quick. So we're gonna head upstairs, and then by disconnecting this wire here, this one that leads down to where we connected it at, we've now turned off all the power over here. And the reason why we did that is we don't want stuff to be kind of moving around as we're kind of doing all this stuff and backing things up, and it's just going to wind up filling our inventory with crap anyway, and we don't really want to deal with that. So we're going to turn the power off, and then we're going to go down here and kind of rearrange all these belts that we need to do. Alright, so we rearranged this, and we now have our extra set of splitters in here to get it down. We put Mark II lines in between here to kind of get all this correct, and then we've moved this back here, and all we have to do now is make sure that we have Mark III belts everywhere, and then we should be able to turn this on, and everything should run at 100%. So it's just a matter of hooking up this. That's an important part of this. We're gonna go underneath here, double check the iron and make sure we have all that at Mark III lines, and then we should be able to turn this back on. Yeah, I was just thinking over it. This Mark II line isn't gonna be enough, so we're gonna have to actually update these to Mark III because these are required to have a total of 135, and the Mark II belts are only 120. So make sure you don't make that mistake because that would be not good. And then you'd have this weird bottleneck. You'd be trying to figure out what the problem is. It'd be a stupid little thing right here. Okay, so this is all set up, and this is all right. We just need to hook in the merger line real quick, snap all this stuff together, and then we're going to turn the power back on. So let me get that done real fast, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've started working on this, and I still have some issues, like with these coming out of here, and I think it's just because they were making over here before because I had the recipes wrong. But hopefully this is going to fix. This is going to run off over here, and this will be a storage area, and then we're going to put an overflow with the resource sink right here. So this will run at 100% efficiency. So we're going to actually go upstairs real quick and turn everything back on, and then double check all my work and make sure that everything's fine. All right, so once you have all this set up and everything's working properly, or at least kind of working, so we see we're having some issues, and pretty much all it revolves around is kind of backtracking the problem. So if we look at this right here, like this is yellow, and we click on it, this is full, so it means that the steel isn't getting out all the way. And these are also having issues with the same problem. So these are barely filling up, and they're not having enough steel to actually run. And before you freak out and think that, okay, you did the numbers wrong, there's a good chance there's probably something else. So we go down here. What I've been doing is pretty much changing all these to Mark III. So with the updated belt, it's not enough to support this, and it can't get out of here fast enough. And it's from this down, so like this needs to be Mark III here. Some of this is Mark III, but if you go on like right here, this is where our steel beams are, and it kind of comes down here, Mark III, and then this is Mark II, and this is Mark II. So that means that right here, this is the bottleneck, which is what you had to fix. So if you replace these It'll speed up this and allow it to get out sooner. So now this is actually able to come in, which is a lot better. And now we just have to keep tracking the system down until we get to a point where we have all this resolved. And part of that, which I've already noticed, is right here. This has to be upgraded as well. So just by slowly kind of working through this will get better and better with efficiency until we get to 100%. We're just having some belt bottlenecks, and part of that is we didn't have enough of these Mark III belts set up already when we were kind of doing this, which is a bit of a struggle when you're setting up something that requires the thing you're about to make to actually run the system. So just a little tip for efficiency there, and I hope you guys gotta try to understand that a little bit better. I never really had to look at this before, but this is perfectly symmetrical. So this is 2 of them, and this is 1 of them. So every other one you get both of them, and then on the in-between lines you get 1 of these. I just think that's pretty cool. Okay, so we're still having this problem over here with this stuff actually coming out of here, and there's a good chance that I know the problem. So we're gonna go down there and check it out. I built a little ladder and we can kind of see what's going on. Okay, so as we're looking up here, we can start to see that this is pretty much gridlocked. This one's not moving at all, and the further we go down, we're gonna see more and more of it just not moving. And it may move like every once in a while, they kind of pull out. So we keep going down the line until we see, and then we get to this. This is not running smoothly, which this is a perfect belt. So this is a 270 steel for a Mark III belt, which is 270 as well. And this is stuttering. So this is the problem. This is already Mark III, so it makes me believe that whatever is right here is not correct. So what we're going to do is take this out real fast. Yeah, there's a Mark II belt right here. There's one little belt that's just hiding in our way is the problem. We're going to take this, we'll hook this up here, and then now this is able to flow freely, which should allow all this to catch up. So I'm thinking we're getting really, really close to being at 100% proficiency, but we're going to let it run for a little bit and see if we can get everything up and running how it's supposed to. Okay, so we put some more work in, and we now have this little catwalk up here, which is really, really cool. We're still having some issues with this getting out of here, but it's doing a lot better. So everything is keeping up pretty good. We still have some yellow lights, like this right here, is because it's completely full, which is probably something to do down here with the merge line. So I'm going to have to go check on that, and then I'm going to see what I can do about getting this working out a little bit smoother. It's really hard to see, but there's no belt there, which is obviously a problem because then it can't exit and then it fills up. So now that's fixed, and then we're going to check on this again and see what we can do to kind of smooth this out if we need to at all, or if it's just a matter of things getting backed up. I don't think it's really going to matter as long as this is flowing smoothly and continues to flow smoothly. Like every once in a while it stutters, but I think it's just because this is backing up, which is not a problem. It's perfectly fine if it does that. It's just there's backing up because this stuff's shutting down. So as long as that has issues and this is going to have issues, it's going to kind of continue to go back towards the system. So now that we have that fixed, that should be fine, and it's just a matter of making sure that our constructors are at 100%, and that should allow this to continually run. So let's go work on that. Alright, we fixed one problem, we find another. This is a Mark I, which is obviously not going to keep up with 90. So we're going to put this to Mark II, and this should match the rest of the Mark II belts, and this should allow this to kind of keep up. And I know I keep saying that we're getting close, but I'm pretty sure this is the last thing that we have to fix. And I think this is going to work perfectly fine now. So we're going to give it a couple more minutes. I'm going to work on some couple more cosmetic things, and then we're going to see where we're at. Alright, so I've been watching for a couple minutes here, and we have a whole lot of green lights. We're still seeing the occasional yellow drop off here, which this is the last of that merge line. When you're merging perfect numbers, it tends to have a little bit of trouble, especially because the systems are getting backed up, and that has been helping it. So this is pretty packed with the stuff. You got 94 there, 93 there, but the good news is those numbers are dropping, so that's a really, really important thing to notice. This stuff is staying solid though, so we're going to go off and say that it's just 100%, but there's a way to check. So when you click on this, you have your productivity here, and this says 76%. And this is accounting for all the stuff beforehand. So if you actually put it on standby and start it up, and sometimes it will mess up and try to drop again, but this is how you kind of check. And if we set all these like that, you know, see how I get the little glitch that pops up. So sometimes what can happen is when you start this up, so you click the little standby off and on, it'll take a second for this to recognize that it needs to be running, and it'll drop percentage based off of that. So it identifies it right away, and then it'll end up shutting it off, which is not good. So we're just going to go through all these. I'm pretty sure that you can just wait long enough to where it'll fix itself. Like these are now actually going up to 100% because they've been running long enough. But if you want to kind of bypass that, you can just hit standby real quick. and then let them run. And then if we go away for a little while and do some other stuff, we can come back, and instead of staring at green lights, we can just check our production percentage. So we're going to go ahead and call this one a success. I've got one last thing to go over with you guys, and then we'll be into the video. So we have kind of talked about this a little bit, but not really in depth. These are storage containers down here, so obviously you need a place for it to go, but there is smart splitters here as well. And the reason why we did this is because this allows us to create overflow lines. So if we click on these smart splitters, you can see the center output and the left output, all this stuff. It comes from where it's going in at. So right here, left would be this side. So what's going to end up happening is it's going to prioritize filling up this entire thing, and then once this is good, it's going to back up and start forcing it this way. Now, the reason why this is important is because this allows 100% perfect uptime, regardless, unless we lose power. Then obviously that would shut it down, or if we interfere with it. But pretty much this means that this is going to be a full container over here that I can grab. If I pull from it, it'll fill up again, and if it gets full, it'll start to move off into over here into the resource sink and start going towards our coupons, which is really, really good. So this pretty much allows us to have 100% efficiency. So these are every sort of system that you're going to need to make any factory run and any sort of basic stuff. Liquids could be a little bit more complicated when it comes to overflow and priority stuff, but that is much later in this season when we're going to be talking about all that stuff. So when you're starting off and you're kind of doing everything, just organize your stuff, make sure you got all your belts fixed, and all it does is take a little bit of time to sit here, look at the problems, and try to figure out what the ordeal is. All that being said, guys, I hope you enjoy the video. If you hit our like goal of 15 likes by Friday night, I will be posting a bonus video Saturday morning. All that being said, guys, I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.